It was the sound that woke me first, not the usual quiet hum of the filter or the soft lap of water against tile, but the harsh, grinding roar of a pump going full throttle. I threw on a t-shirt and stumbled into the backyard, blinking against the glare of the morning sun, only to see a thick green hose running from my pool straight into the street drain. And there she was, leaning over the pump like she'd been doing it her whole life. Karen Whitfield, HOA president, self-appointed queen of every blade of grass and square inch of concrete within a 3-block radius. Her oversized sunglasses reflected the blue water disappearing into the hose, and the satisfied smirk on her face told me she wasn't here to help with maintenance. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" I shouted, my voice cracking more from disbelief than anger. Karen barely turned her head. "Oh good, you're up. The HOA voted to use your pool for the summer gala, but the color of the water doesn't match the event theme. We're draining it so we can refill with the right tone. Aqua pearl, not turquoise." She said it like she was explaining the weather, as if color-coordinated water was a matter of public safety. I stared at her for a long second, trying to process the audacity. "You didn't ask. You didn't tell me. And you're stealing my water." Her lips curled into a mocking little smile. "Your pool is a shared community asset under our revised guidelines." She pointed to a laminated sheet pinned to her clipboard. Section 12, subparagraph 3, any private recreational structure can be reallocated for neighborhood events at the board's discretion. I wanted to rip that clipboard from her hands, but I forced myself to breathe. "Karen, this is my property. You're trespassing, and you're stealing utilities I pay for." She shrugged, not even bothering to look me in the eye. "Then send me the bill. The HOA will consider it at the next budget meeting." By the time I'd called the city water department to report the theft, half my pool was gone. The party was in 3 days, and she planned to fill it right back up with HOA funds like nothing had happened. That night, I sat on my porch, staring at the empty shell of my pool, and the idea came to me not just to stop her, but to make sure she'd never try something like this again. The next morning, I made a few calls. A buddy of mine, Vince, runs an ice delivery service for skating rinks and special events. By noon, 2 flatbeds were in my driveway, each loaded with massive blocks of ice. We slid them down into the empty pool, and by sunset, the deep end was shimmering with a solid sheet of frozen white. A local refrigeration company loaned me a portable chiller to keep it solid. By the following day, I had an improvised skating rink and a brand new listing on a local rental site advertising private outdoor ice experience, hourly bookings available. The timing couldn't have been better. By the time HOA volunteers arrived on party day with buckets of streamers and trays of champagne flutes, they were met not with an inviting blue oasis, but with kids in winter coats skating in lazy loops while parents sipped hot cocoa at rented patio tables. Karen's jaw dropped so far I thought it might hit the ice. "What is this?" she barked, storming past the line of guests. "It's my pool," I said, smiling just enough to twist the knife. "And today it's a skating rink. Booked solid for the weekend." I gestured to the sign by the gate. "Private rentals only." Funny thing, since the HOA no longer has authority over private recreational structures, as confirmed by the city zoning office yesterday, I can do whatever I want with it. Karen's face turned a dangerous shade of crimson. "We have a contract," she hissed. I shook my head. "You have a fantasy. I have a deed. And now I have an income stream that's going to pay for every gallon you stole." The crowd around us was watching, some barely hiding their grins. A couple of the HOA volunteers quietly backed out of the yard, clearly unwilling to pick a fight they couldn't win. Then came the twist I hadn't planned but welcomed like a gift. A local reporter, tipped off by Vince, showed up with a camera crew. "We're here to cover the neighborhood skating rink story," she said brightly. "We heard it used to be a pool, but there was some disagreement." Karen tried to wave her off, muttering about private HOA matters. But the reporter was already interviewing a pair of kids in scarves and mittens who told her how the nice man let us skate even though the HOA lady didn't want us to. Karen froze not from the ice, but from the realization that her stunt had just turned into a public relations nightmare. The reporter caught my smirk on camera as I told the story from the beginning, ending with, "If someone tries to take something from you, Sometimes the best answer is to make it yours in a way they can't touch. But as I was about to find out, Karen wasn't done swinging. And the next move she made would push this fight from petty to legal exactly where I wanted it. Karen vanished from my backyard that day, but I knew her absence didn't mean surrender. Sure enough, 3 mornings later, a certified letter landed in my mailbox. Cease and desist unauthorized commercial activity in HOA jurisdiction. The letter was on HOA letterhead. Her signature sprawled across the bottom in that overconfident cursive she must have practiced in the mirror. It demanded I shut down the skating rink immediately, refund all bookings, and restore the pool to community access within 10 days. I laughed out loud, the sound echoing off the frosted walls of my backyard. 10 days? I'd already booked the rink solid for 3 weekends straight. And besides, I had more than momentum on my side now. I had the law. The city zoning officer, Mr. Barnes, had confirmed in writing that my property was entirely outside the HOA's enforceable boundaries. Karen's letter was nothing more than an empty threat dressed in faux legal language. I called Vince again, this time to order more ice, not because I needed it, but because I wanted her to see the rink thriving every single time she peeked over her fence. And she did. Oh, she tried to hide it, skulking behind her azalea bushes, but I'd catch the glint of her sunglasses and the twitch of her jaw when a family wheeled in a wagon full of skates. Then came the twist I'd been waiting for. At the next city council meeting, during the public comment session, Karen stood at the microphone and declared my rink a public safety hazard that attracted undesirable crowds to the neighborhood. Her voice wobbled with forced outrage as she claimed children were slipping into danger, and emergency services would be called any day now. What she didn't know was that I was sitting 3 rows back, waiting my turn to speak. When the council president called my name, I walked right past her as she stepped down, holding up a stack of signed testimonials from every guest who'd used the rink. Council members, I began. In the past 3 weeks, we've had over 200 visitors without a single injury. The HOA president here, I nodded toward Karen without saying her name, has trespassed on my property, drained my pool without consent, and now is attempting to destroy a safe, lawful activity simply because she can't control it. The room went still. Karen's face hardened, but I could see the beads of sweat forming at her hairline. Then Mr. Barnes, the zoning officer, spoke up from his seat against the wall. For the record, the property is zoned for private recreational use, and the HOA has no jurisdiction. That was the kill shot. 2 days later, a letter from the city attorney arrived at Karen's HOA office, advising her to cease any further attempts to interfere with my property or face harassment charges. I didn't see the letter, but George Miller, the one reasonable voice on the board, called to tell me she'd been visibly shaking when she read it aloud in a closed meeting. Word spread fast. Neighbors who'd never spoken to me before started stopping by, asking if they could book time on the rink or volunteer for events. I said yes to both. We added music nights, themed skates, even a charity fundraiser for the local animal shelter. The rink had gone from petty revenge to a community staple, and Karen couldn't touch it. Her final collapse came not from me, but from within her own ranks. The board, tired of the fines, legal warnings, and bad press, voted to remove her as president. The motion passed 6-1. She didn't stick around to pack up her things, just sent an email resigning her membership entirely. The next Saturday, as the rink buzzed with laughter and the smell of fresh popcorn drifted through the air, George stopped by. You know, he said, leaning on the fence, the funniest part is she's moving to a condo complex, one with no pool at all. We both chuckled, not out of cruelty, but out of the poetic symmetry of it. By the end of winter, the rink had paid for the damage she caused, and then some. When the thaw came, I decided to keep the spirit alive, swapping the ice for a summer splash pad for the kids and a lounge area for adults. The sign stayed, though. Members only, my way. Not as a dig, but as a reminder that sometimes the best defense is to create something bigger than the offense. And now I'll ask you, the reader, was I right to turn her stunt into an opportunity for the whole community? Or should I have just gone after her in court and skipped the show entirely?